الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاتقون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Our discussion is on community psychology. And we define community psychology as the influence of an individual upon the community and the influence of the community upon an individual. We have been discussing the past 3 nights about the 3 groups that the hadith tells us constitute the pillars of the community. We saw that these 3 groups are the leaders, the scholars, and the doctors. And we saw the virtues and vices of each group, and we saw the importance of each group. There is a beautiful hadith from our first Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. In which he says, يجب على الإمام أن يحبس الفساق من العلماء وَالْجُهَّالِ مِنَ الْأَطِبَّاءِ. This hadith is very interesting in that it brings all 3 groups together again. The Imam alayhi salam says it is wajib on the leader that he should prevent the ill effects of corrupt scholars and quacks or ignorant doctors. Al-Juhal min al-Atibba means those doctors who don't have the knowledge of medicine, whom we saw yesterday we term as quacks. So it is the duty of the leader of the community to ensure that the scholars who have access to the community are people who are not corrupt, so that they don't misguide the community. And the doctors also who are taking care of the physical well-being of the members of the community should be well-qualified doctors. It's a beautiful hadith from the first Imam that brings these 3 groups again together. And we saw some of the vices of each of these 3 groups. One of the vices that is common to at least 2 of the 3 groups is the vice of love of this world. Because in the world today, we find that commercialization has taken over education, has taken over medicine. People don't learn to grow, they learn to earn. And that's why we find that even those who go to universities, they want to know which profession can I pursue that will make me the most money? Rather than thinking in communal terms, which profession is good for this community, that is needed in this community. Similarly, in medicine, we find that commercialization means now doctors are thinking in terms of how much I will earn from the patient rather than how well the patient is. And that is why sometimes you don't need surgery and the doctor advises you to take surgery and you have to take so many unnecessary tests and so on and so forth. So therefore, each of these three groups have their virtues and vices, and they are pillars of the community. Tonight, we want to shift focus a bit. And instead of looking at one particular group, we want to look at relationships within the community in general. We are a community of different kinds of individuals. How do we relate to one another? How do we deal with one another? We know that Allah Azza wa Jal in the Holy Quran, He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Indeed, the mu'mineen are brothers to one another. So we are brothers in Iman. In another verse He says, الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. Indeed, the mu'mineen and the mu'minat, to each other they are awliya. Awliya can mean so many things. Friends, companions, guardians, well-wishers of one another. And therefore we find that our relationship with one another is of paramount importance. We need to understand that now that Allah Azza wa Jal has called us brothers in Iman, indeed we have some rights and responsibilities, and we have to care for the rights and of the other members of the community as well. And that is why I'm sure all of you have heard the riwayat that talk about the rights of a believer. Every believer has 70 rights on another believer, and so on and so forth. And these riwayat are plenty in number. And we will not dwell on these rights. Rather, we will take one simple hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, in which he says, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ غَشَّ مُؤْمِنًا أَوْ ضَرَّهُ أَوْ مَاكَرَهُ. Very simple. The rights of a believer, all his rights have been summarized in one beautiful hadith of the Prophet. All the rights of a believer, the 70 rights or more, have been summarized by the Prophet in one short hadith. He says, he is not amongst us who does what to a believer? One who غَشَّهُ, who cheats a believer. لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ غَشَّ مُؤْمِنًا. Whoever cheats a believer is not from us. أَوْ ضَرَّهُ, or harms a believer. أَوْ مَاكَرَهُ, or plots against a believer. So, this summarizes beautifully the rights of every believer. You're not allowed to cheat a believer, or to harm a believer, or even to plot and to scheme against a believer. If you take these things into consideration and practice on this hadith, you will have taken care of all the rights of the believer. What a beautiful hadith of the Prophet. However, we are individuals. Each of us have our own way of thinking. Each of us have our own idiosyncrasies and our own personal way of dealing with things and behaving, our own attitudes. And hence it is but unavoidable for there to be conflict in the community, for there to be friction in the community sometimes, for there to be quarrels in the community. It is unavoidable, and it is not something that is specific to our community. Rather, in every community, whether they are believers or non-believers, in any community you will always have some friction sometimes. Why? Because we are of different mindsets. We have all come together, and therefore sometimes there is disagreement. The only thing is that when this disagreement comes, how do we handle it? We should realize that when there is this quarreling and friction between mu'mineen, the person who is very happy is shaitan. That is why the hadith tells us لا يزال إبليس فرحا ما اهتجر المسلمان. As long as two believers are at loggerheads and are quarreling with one another, Shaitan is very happy. He sits back and enjoys himself as these two mu'mineen quarrel with one another. Because as we had mentioned in the first night, that it has come in the hadith that when you quarrel and you separate from one another, you become a target for Shaitan. Shaitan is looking for those who are away from each other, those who are separated, because when you are together, you have that unity, you have that strength. But when you are separated, now you become prey for Shaitan, just the way the wolf attacks those sheep that have come out of the flock. And so Shaitan is very happy. And that is why Islam gives us a lot of emphasis on patching up relationships. Whenever you quarrel with your brother in Iman, go and patch up that relationship, whether you are at fault or not. The Prophet says, فَأَيُّهُمَا سَبَقَ إِلَى كَلَامِ أَخِيهِ كَانَ السَّابِقْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. If you quarrel with your brother, the one between you two who will take the first step to mend the relationship, he will go to Jannah first. It does not say whether you are right or wrong. No. The other party may be wrong, but you want to build that relationship. You want to mend that relationship. So you take the phone and you initiate the call. You are the one to visit the house of your brother. He is wrong, but you want to build that tie. You want to keep those ties alive, the ties of brotherhood in Iman. And so the Prophet says, even if you are on the right, go and patch up this disagreement that you have with your brother. Not only that, this has been addressed in communal terms. O community of believers, if you see any two amongst you quarreling, it is your responsibility, it is your duty to bring these two back together again. If you see groups amongst yourselves quarreling, it is your responsibility to bring them back again. This is known in Islam as Islahu Dhat al-Bayn, mending the ties between the believers. It is a responsibility. In fact, the hadith tells us, Islahu Dhat al-Bayn afdalu min ammati as-salati was-sawm. Mending the ties between believers carries greater reward than praying and fasting. All these mustahabbat prayers that you perform, the salatul layls that you perform, the mustahab fasting that you perform. Instead of that, if you bring two believing brothers who are at loggerheads and quarreling with one another, you bring them back together, you get more thawab in that. That is the significance of Islahu Dhat al-Bayn. One step further, a very, very interesting hadith and a very dangerous hadith also. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he tells Amirul Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, ثلاث يحسن فيهن الكذب. O Ali, there are three things in which telling lies is good. Allahu Akbar. Can it ever be good to tell a lie? We have heard of situations where it's permissible to tell a lie. There are cases when you are allowed to tell a lie. But have you ever heard of a case where telling lies is good? Yes. The Prophet tells Imam Ali, there are three cases in which telling lies is good. يَحْسُنُ فِيهِنَّ الْكَذِبِ. Number one, al-makida fil harb. During wartime, when the Muslims are fighting the enemies of Islam, you use lies as a ruse so that you protect the lives of the mu'mineen. That lie is a thawab. You get reward for lying because now you have lied, and as a consequence of your lie during wartime, you have saved the lives of so many believers. That is one. The second one I will not mention, because if I mention that, I will get into trouble. Those of you who are interested can go and find out. The third one is Islahu Dhat al-Bayn. When two members of the community are quarreling with one another, you are allowed, not allowed, it is good for you to lie. How? You go to the first brother and you say, you know this brother whom you're not getting along with, he has started talking good about you. He has started feeling sad. He is missing you. He is guilty about what he said. And then you go to brother number 2 and you say, you know that brother number 1, he's missing you so much. He is guilty. He is ready to make up with you, but he's feeling shy and embarrassed. And so because you have spoken good to each of them, about each of them, and you have softened their hearts by lying to them, you have actually lied to them. You bring them back together. In this case, telling lies is good. This is the importance of Islahu Dhat al-Bayn. O community of believers, whenever you have this problem in your community, and you are bound to have it, don't sit back and say, but I get along with both of them, so I have no problem. No, it is your responsibility to bring back the mu'mineen and to patch up these ties of brotherhood in Iman. And then we come to the building blocks of the community, which is family. We are talking about relationships within the community. Family relationships, very important. What is your relationship with your spouse and your children? Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam has a beautiful dua in which he says, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. O Allah, make our spouses and our children the coolness of our eyes, the joy of our hearts. What is your relationship with your family, your immediate family, your spouse and your children? Why does that have to be something that we consider or talk about when we are talking about community psychology? Because family is the building blocks of the community. Your families make up this community. We have to be very careful about our own family relationships because it has a direct athar and a direct effect on the community. The Prophet says in a beautiful hadith, he says, أَقْرَبُكُم مِّنِّي مَجْلِسًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Who would not like to be with the Holy Prophet on the Day of Judgment? Who would not like to be in the proximity and in the neighborhood of the Prophet in Jannah? The Prophet says, those of you who are closest to me and who will be closest to me on the Day of Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment, who are these people? These are the people, أَحْسَنُكُمْ خُلُقًا وَخَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ. Those of you who have the best akhlaq and are the best in their treatment of their families. How you treat your family is very important in Islam. There is no room for any kind of domestic violence in Islam. There is no room for any kind of mistreatment of family in Islam. No. And that is why the Prophet also says, شَرُّ النَّاسِ الْمُضَيِّقُ عَلَى أَهْلِهِ. He was seated with his companions. And he said to them, شَرُّ النَّاسِ الْمُضَيِّقُ عَلَى أَهْلِهِ. So his companions asked, Ya Rasulullah, what do you mean the worst of the people are those who are مُضَيِّقُ عَلى أَهْلِ? What does this مُضَيِّقُ عَلى أَهْلِ mean? The Prophet says, these are the people, and he gives the explanation like this with an example. He says, these are the people who when they enter their house, their wives start trembling and their children run away into their rooms. And when they leave the house, their wives now are at ease and their children begin to laugh and play. These are, according to the Prophet, sharrun nas, the worst of people. The worst of people. And hence, one's relationship with one's spouse is of paramount importance. Yes, it is true. When we talk about marital relations, there are bound to be problems at times. It is but normal. It is normal. Husband and wife don't always get along. You cannot show me one couple, and I can challenge you in this gathering, those who are married, who says, me and my wife, we have never quarreled throughout our marriage. Is there anyone here? You raise your hand, we'll recite a salawat for you, and we'll come and ask you what is your secret. I will give you the podium. You can come and tell us what is your secret. There is nobody. Why? Because a man thinks logically and a woman thinks emotionally. I mean, I don't know. This is my experience. Maybe if I'm wrong, anybody correct me. It is not that a woman does not have intellect. She has intellect. But her emotions overpower her intellect. And so, sometimes there is friction. That is why there is a lot of reward for patience in marriage. You know, there was a famous philosopher, you must have heard this, Socrates, famous philosopher. He had a really difficult wife. So one day he went home and his wife was in one of her bad moods. And she starts shouting at him and throwing plates around and everything. Socrates is a philosopher, so he was seated quietly. He didn't say anything. So she got more agitated. She took a bucket of water and threw it on his head. So Socrates said, after thunder comes rain. And that's it. The Holy Prophet has said that the reward for a husband who is patient with his wife is the reward of Ayyub alayhi salam. And the reward of the wife who is patient with her husband, because even the husband sometimes, you know, he has had a bad day at work and he comes and starts snapping at his wife and his children when they haven't done anything. And the wife who is patient with her husband, the Prophet says, she will be raised with my daughter Fatima alayha salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ya Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. So marriage takes work. Marriage takes patience. Those who are married will tell you, it takes patience. The wife has to be patient at times, the husband has to be patient at times, and you will be rewarded for your patience. The Prophet has promised you will be rewarded for your patience. Okay, so now, husband and wife, this is how Islam has given you the prescription of behavior with one another, being patient with one another, and there is a beautiful balance in the riwayat about rights of wife and rights of husband. It's a beautiful balance. None of them have that power over the other where the other feels completely oppressed. No. There's a very beautiful balance. Now, the husband and wife make a family and now they bring children into this world. When you bring a child into this world, it comes with a responsibility. Don't feel that you have brought a child into this world and that is it. Now, you have no responsibility. No, Islam says, it is your responsibility on how you bring up this child to be a productive member of your community. That is why the hadith tells us, أَدِّبُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ وَأَحْسِنُوا تَأْدِيبَهُمْ. Teach your children adab. Adab is something that encompasses not only knowledge, but also how to behave in society, how to behave with the elders of the community, how to behave with your age mates, how to behave with your teachers, how to behave with your relatives. Who is responsible to teach the children? The parents are responsible to teach the children. Teach your children how to behave. I am not saying this. The Prophet is saying this. And then, once you do this, then now you will bring up members of the society who will be productive in that community, who will support that community, who will uplift the community. And then we move on and widen the scope now. We have spoken about brothers in Iman and we have spoken about family members. We widen the scope now and talk about relatives in general. We all know the importance of Silatul Rahim. Silatul Rahim is very important. The Quran tells us about Silatul Rahim. The riwayat tell us about Silatul Rahim. The Prophet was seated with his companions one time and he asked them, أَلَا أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى خَيْرِ الْأَخْلَاقِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. O my companions, should I not tell you about the best akhlaq in this world and in the akhirah? They said, Bala ya Rasulullah, we want to know, tell us what is the best character traits, what is the best akhlaq of this world and the akhirah? He says three things. Man wasala man qata'ah. One who makes connections and builds ties with the one who cuts him off. وَمَنْ أَعْطَى مَنْ حَرَمَهُ. And the one who gives, the one who had deprived him, he gives. وَعَفَى مَنْ ظَلَمَهُ. And he forgives the one who oppresses him. That means these three things make up the best akhlaq. If somebody cuts off ties with you from your family, you should build the ties with that person. If somebody deprives you of something, when that person comes to you, don't say, yesterday I had come to you begging and crying. Did you give me? No. Did you help me? No. What do you expect? Now I will help you? I will never help you. No. أَعْطَى مَنْ حَرَمَهُ. Somebody who deprives you, tomorrow he comes to you, you don't deprive him. وَعَفَى عَمَّنْ ظَلَمَهُ. And forgives the one who oppresses him. If you have these qualities, then you have the best of akhlaq. And Silatul Rahim has so many rewards. There are so many benefits. Building the community. When you have good ties with your family members, you have good ties with your relatives, automatically you are a person who will have good ties with the rest of the community. You build up the community with Silatul Rahim. And there are other rewards for Silatul Rahim as well. Prophet Musa alayhi salam asks Allah, Ya Allah, what is the reward that you have kept for Silatul Rahim, for keeping ties with relatives? Allah Azza wa Jal says, whoever keeps ties with his relatives, I will make sakaratul maut easy for him. You know how difficult sakaratul maut is? It is very difficult, my dear brothers and sisters. For the great ulama, they have told us how difficult it is. Imagine for people like us. Sakaratul maut is a very difficult phase. But for those who keep ties with their near relatives, Allah tells Musa alayhi salam, I will make sakaratul maut easy for them. And about Silatul Rahim, we are told that out of all the good deeds, it is a'jalu thawaban, the quickest in reward. The quickest reward comes for Silatul Rahim. We live in an age of instant gratification. Everything is instant. Everything is quick, immediate. We have fast food. We have fast internet. We have fast travel. We have instant coffee. We have everything instant. You want instant thawab? You want quick thawab? You want fast thawab? Silatul Rahim. A'jalu thawaban. The quickest in reward, Silatul Rahim. And this keeping ties with near relatives is the only thing about which the Holy Prophet says in a hadith which is really remarkable. Listen to this hadith, he says. Man ضمن لي واحدة ضمنت له أربعة. Whoever guarantees me one thing, I will guarantee him four things. Prophet says, whoever guarantees me one thing, I will guarantee him four things. يصل رحمه. He should just guarantee that he will keep ties with his relatives. فيحبه الله. I guarantee Allah will love him. فيحبه الله. ويوسع عليه في رزقه. And I guarantee that Allah will increase his sustenance and make him wealthy. ويزيد في عمره. And I guarantee that Allah will give him a long life. وَيُدْخِلُهُ الْجَنَّةِ. And I guarantee Allah will take him to Jannah. What a beautiful tradition. Keeping ties with your relatives. Look at this. The Holy Prophet is giving us guarantees. So why should we not make an extra effort to keep ties with our relatives? No matter how they are. Let us not look for excuses. We don't have time. We'll be discussing about that shortly. These are the rewards of Silatul Rahim, but there is also punishment for Qat'ur Rahim. The opposite of Silatul Rahim is Qat'ur Rahim. The opposite of keeping ties with your near relatives is cutting off ties and severing ties with your near relatives. Just one hadith in which we are told that the one who cuts off ties with his near relatives will not even smell the fragrance of Jannah. You know, the riwayat tell us that the fragrance of Jannah spreads so far and wide that the span of distance is counted in years. Thousands of years away, you can still smell the fragrance of Jannah in Akhirah. But the one who cuts off ties with his relatives will not even smell the fragrance of Jannah. And so a person comes to Rasulullah and says, Ya Rasulullah, I have really difficult relatives. My relatives, they insult me and they speak behind my back about me and they undermine me and they humiliate me. And whenever I go to them, I leave their presence with a foul taste in my mouth. Ya Rasulullah, am I allowed to cut off ties with them? The Prophet says no. Even if this is how they behave, if you cut off ties with them, then Allah will turn His mercy away from you just as He turns His mercy away from them. So you continue keeping ties with them. Allahu Akbar. This is how important it is to have Silatul Rahim. So how is one supposed to practice it? Okay, you have been talking about Silatul Rahim, Silatul Rahim. Give us practical tips. What is Silatul Rahim? What am I expected to do? How should I practice Silatul Rahim? Number one, if you are able to help your family member who is in need financially, then that is the first thing you need to do. The Prophet says in one hadith, La sadaqah wa dhawil rahim muhtaj. There can be no sadaqah when your relative is muhtaj. If you have a relative who is in need, you cannot give money for sadaqah anywhere else. The first priority has to go to your relative who is in need. You may say, Alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us. None of us in our family are in need. Or you may say, I am not so wealthy that I can spare anything for my relative. Is there anything else I can do in Silatul Rahim? Yes. The sixth Imam alayhi salam says, Silu arhamakum walau bit taslim. Keep ties with your relatives even if it is by one phone call of Salamun alaykum. By one salam. Keep ties even if it is by one salam. In another hadith he says, Sil rahimak walau bi sharbatin min ma. Keep ties with your relatives even if it is by giving one glass of water. Today we live in an age of technology. Yes, life is very fast paced. It's difficult to spare time, but we have technology. At our fingertips, we are able to communicate with our family members in all parts of the world. Just one message once in a while, just one salamun alaykum once in a while. It's not difficult. It has become much easier today than what it was in the past. We have no excuse now for not being in touch with our family members. Many families have created groups on these social media platforms so that they can at least share once in a while, Assalamu alaikum, how are you doing? That's very good. And the least of all, if you can't do anything, the riwayah tells us, I can't do anything, I'm just too busy. If you can't do anything, then the least you do of silatul rahim is do not harm your family member. That's the least. Do not do anything to harm your family member. And this is something that applies not only to the mu'mineen. There was a companion of the sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Whose name was Jahm. Jahm comes to the Imam and says, Yabna Rasulillah, my family are not believers, they are non-believers. Should I still keep ties with them? The Imam says, yes. The Imam says, yes, they have at least one right on you. If they were believers, they would have two rights on you. The right of family and the right of Iman. But because they don't have Iman, they still have the right of family on you. So you don't use the excuse that they are not believers, so I don't keep with them. No, the Imam says, keep with them. But now, I have a very large family. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah. You want to see my family? I can give you right now 100 names of my living relatives, not those who have passed away. What do? I can't keep with all of them. If I do that, I'll not have time for anything else. Is there a system of prioritization? The ulama say yes. There is a system of prioritization in Silatul Rahim. Who gets the priority first? They say number one, parents. And of course, when we say parents, first comes mother, then father. Number one, parents. Number two, siblings, your brothers and sisters. From the same womb. That's where Rahim comes from. Rahim means womb. Then number three comes your nasabi relations. Nasabi relations means blood relatives like uncles and aunts and cousins and so on and so forth. And then number four comes your sababi relations. Sababi relations are those who are related to you by marriage. So the ulama say that this is the prioritization that you have to give when you are keeping in ties with your near relatives. There is this level of prioritization. So first and foremost, your parents. It's very important. We all know. If we were to talk about parents, one ashra would not be enough. There is so much about parents that can be said. Suffice it to say that our fifth Imam, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, in one hadith he says, ثلاث لم يجعل الله فيهن رخصة. There are three groups for whom Allah has not given any excuse, any exception. What are these? There are three things for which there is no exception. Number one is ada'ul amana, giving back the amana. Whether the person who has given you the amana is a believer or a non-believer, a good person or a bad person, an evil person or a virtuous person, you have no rukhsa. You have to return that amana when he comes for it. Number two is what? Al-wafa bil-ahd. When you give a promise, you have to fulfill your promise, whether you gave that promise to a believer or a non-believer, whether you gave the promise to a good person or a bad person, a virtuous person or a wicked person, you still have to fulfill that promise. And the third group, he says, are your parents, barrain kana aw fasiqain, whether they are good or they are fasiq, na'udhu billah, still you have to keep with them. There is no excuse. There is no excuse to say, oh, my parents are not good people, so I will not keep with them. No, there is no rukhsah for parents. You have to keep with them. Believers, whether they are or non-believers, whether they are good or they are evil, you have to keep with them. And that is why there are so many riwayat. In one hadith Qudsi, you know, hadith Qudsi is the hadith where Allah speaks. It's قال Allah now. Normally it's قال Rasulullah or قال الصادق عليه السلام. Hadith Qudsi is قال Allah. Allah is speaking. Allah says, one who disrespects his parents, displeases his parents, if that person were to do the ibadat of all the prophets that I have sent, all of them together, I would still not accept his ibadah. So the first thing is keep ties with your parents, try and keep them happy, talk to them, keep good relations with them. And then the siblings also very important. You know, when the Prophet was young, 7 years old, he was with his nursing mother, Halima Khatun. When he was with Halima Khatun in the desert, one day he asks his nursing mother, he says, where are my brothers? Because she had other boys. She says to him, they're out tending to the flock. So the Prophet is 7 years old now. He tells Halima Khatun, but this is not fair, mother. I am here inside the shade of the tent and my brothers are outside in the heat of the sun. Imagine, from that age the Prophet is teaching us the value of our siblings, of our brothers and sisters. It's very important that we keep ties. And finally, I just want to point out that there are elements who always try to disrupt and to bring fitna in the families and in the relations between those who are our rahim, or the relation between husband and wife, or the relation between son and parents, or daughter and parents, or brother and sister. There are such elements who cause fitna. Beware, my brothers and sisters, beware of such elements. They are there, it is mentioned in the Holy Quran at the time of Harut and Marut. They learned from Harut and Marut what? How to divide a husband and wife, how to separate husband and wife. There is one anecdote in which Muhammad Hanafiya, the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam, one day the Khawarij come to him and they say, why is it that when your father Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salam, there is a battle, he always sends you in front and he keeps Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein behind with him? What were they doing? They were trying to put fitna. Why is it that your father sends you in the front line and keeps Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein behind with him? So he answers in a beautiful way. He says, because Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein are like the eyes of my father and I am his right hand. When something comes to your eyes, how do you defend it? How do you protect it? With your hand. And in that way he answers these Khawarij and he prevents their fitna. So we should also be very careful when it comes to issues of family ties, ties between mu'mineen. We should be aware of those who try and put fitna. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. The 6th night of Muharram usually is the night in which we give condolences to Ummul Masa'ib, Zainab Kubra alayha salam. It is very interesting why she is known as Ummul Masa'ib. You know, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein faced so much hardship on the day of Ashura and in Karbala. but he never got the title Abul Masa'ib. You can imagine how much musibah Zainab would have had to face to have gotten this title Ummul Masa'ib. From the very beginning, she was with Aba Abdullah. And on the night of Ashura, she talks to her two sons, Aun and Muhammad. Who was Aun and Muhammad? These were the children of Abdullah ibn Jaffer al-Tayyar. Abdullah ibn Jaffer was the cousin of Bibi Zainab alayha salam. When Abdullah had come to ask for her hand in marriage, Imam Ali said, no problem, but with one condition. The day when Hussein has to leave, and she comes to ask you, Abdullah, let me go with my brother Hussein. Don't stop her. Don't stop her. So when the time comes, Abdullah tells Zainab, Zainab, you are going. I am not well, but take my two sons, Aun and Muhammad. They will be my qurbani in Karbala. So Aun and Muhammad come. From the beginning, they know that they have to be sacrificed for Aba Abdullah. On the night of Ashura, everyone is preparing. In the tent, Zainab calls Aun and Muhammad. Oh, my two sons, tomorrow make sure that you make me proud. I want to be proud, so that on the day of judgment, when I go in front of my mother Fatima, I am able to stand in front of her and say, Amma, I also gave sacrifice in Ashura. So she was preparing them, and on the day of Ashura, she prepared them with her own two hands and sent them to Aba Abdullah. But when they came to Imam Hussein would turn away from them. He knew that they had come to ask permission. He did not want to give them permission. He kept turning away, looking for an excuse to turn away, until they went back to Zainab. Oh, our mother Zainab, our uncle is not responding to us. She said, I will take you myself. She holds on with one hand. She holds Muhammad with the other hand. She brings them in front of Aba Abdullah. Oh, my brother Hussein, are you not ready to take my qurbani? Then she convinces him, and Hussein gives permission. But now Aun and Muhammad are very young. According to some riwayat, they're about 10 to 11 years old. They don't know how to fight. So Imam Hussein calls Abbas, Abbas, come and teach them how to fight. Abul Fadl al-Abbas comes. He gives one sword in the hand of Aun. He gives one sword in the hand of Muhammad. If somebody attacks you from this side, Aun, this is how you repel the attack. If somebody attacks you like this, Muhammad, this is how you repel the attack. And they were so young that when they were ready, they had to be lifted on the horses. Aba Abdullah lifted Aun, Abbas lifted Muhammad, and they went into the battlefield. Ajrukum ala Allah. And these young champions of Karbala, when they entered the battlefield, they killed so many people that they reached near the tents of Umar Sa'd. Umar Sa'd said, who are these two young boys? He was told, these are the sons of Abdullah ibn Jaffer al-Tayyar. He said, surround them, surround them. Now the Ashqiya come and they surround these two young boys. And once they have surrounded them, one person starts throwing a stone, another person starts throwing a spear, some shot arrows, and the two young boys fell on the hot sands of Karbala. Ya Amma Adrikna, Ya Amma Adrikna. And they were calling for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. When he heard this sound, Aba Abdullah's face changed color. He said, now what answer will I give my sister Zainab? He rushed to the battlefield, and with him rushed Abbas alayhi salam. But by the time they reached the bodies of Aun and Muhammad, their souls had already gone to Jannah. Now they had to take the bodies back to the tents. Haza daro حسین خیمے کی طرف آئے. بیبیوں میں یہ رواج ہوا کرتا تھا جب بھی حسین کوئی لاشا لے کے آتے تھے بیبیاں در خیمے کے باہر نکل جاتی تھی اور سر فہرست سب سے آگے زینب ہوا کرتی تھی. اب کہ جب اون و محمد کے لاشیں آئے بیبیاں تو باہر آئی مگر زینب نہ آئی. کسی نے پوچھا زینب کہاں ہے؟ کہا زینب سجدے میں ہے اور سجدے میں دعا کر رہی ہے اللہم تقبل منا ھذا القربان. پالنے والے زینب سے اس قربانی کو قبول کیجئے. ہاں عزادارو زینب نے سجدہ کیا مگر مقتل میں ملتا ہے کہ زینب کے ہونٹوں سے کربلا میں اور کربلا کے بعد کبھی بھی واہ اونا واہ محمدہ نہیں نکلا. جب بھی زینب نے گریہ کیا کبھی حسین پہ گریہ کیا کبھی عباس پہ گریہ کیا کبھی علی اکبر پہ گریہ کیا کبھی قاسم پہ گریہ کیا. زینب نے واہ اونا واہ محمدہ کبھی نہیں کہا. جناب زینب اون و محمد پہ نہ روئی. جب بھی روئی قاسم پہ روئی علی اکبر پہ روئی عباس پہ روئی حسین پہ روئی. ایک مرتبہ جب 11 محرم کو یہ قافلہ کربلا سے روانہ ہوا ہے تو ایک مرتبہ تمام سر آگے آگے تھے. اس کے بعد کوفے کے اندر آئے. جب کوفے میں پہنچے ہیں جناب زینب نے جب بھی گریہ کیا اپنے بھائی حسین پہ گریہ کیا. واہ خواہ واہ حسینہ کہہ کے پکارتی گئی. شام کے زندان میں زینب آئی. ابھی تک زینب کے زبان سے واہ اونا واہ محمدہ نہیں نکلا. ایک مرتبہ جب شہداء کے سر واپس لوٹائے گئے ایک مرتبہ جب شہداء کے سر واپس لوٹائے گئے کہتے ہیں کہ جب حسین کا سر آیا زینب دوڑتی ہوئی گئی حسین کے سر کو لے کے سینے سے لگا دیا. ام کلثوم نے عباس کے سر کو لیا. ام فروہ نے قاسم کے سر کو لیا. ام لیلہ نے علی اکبر کے سر کو لیا. تمام بیویاں سروں کو لے چکی. 2 چھوٹے چھوٹے سر ایک جگہ پڑے ہوئے تھے. کسی نے پوچھا کیا ان بچوں کے ماں کربلا میں نہ تھی؟ آواز آئی خبردار یہ زینب کے 2 نونہال ہے. ایک مرتبہ یہ قافلہ شام سے رہا ہوا. پہلی مرتبہ زینب نے اون محمد کا نام کب لیا؟ مقتل میں ملتا ہے ایک مرتبہ جناب زینب جب مدینہ پہنچی نانا کے روضے سے فارغ ہو گئی ماں کی قبر سے فارغ ہو گئی اپنے گھر کی طرف آئی. عبداللہ ابن جعفر جناب زینب کے شوہر روایت کرتے ہیں میں نے دیکھا میرے گھر کے باہر ایک ضعیف عورت کھڑی ہوئی ہے. ایک ضعیف عورت کھڑی ہوئی ہے جس کی کمر جھکی ہوئی ہے. میں آگے بڑھا میں نے پوچھا یا امت اللہ حل لکی من حاجہ اے اللہ کے کنیز کیا آپ کی کوئی حاجت ہے؟ ایک مرتبہ اس نقاب پوش بی بی نے اپنے نقاب کو الٹ کے کہا اے ابن عم نہ پہچانا میں زینب ہوں. ایک مرتبہ عبداللہ ابن جعفر زینب کو گھر کے اندر لے گئے. خدا کسی ماں کو اجڑا ہوا گھر نہ دکھائے. ایک مرتبہ زینب گھر کے اندر داخل ہوئی اون کے شاید مصلے پہ نگاہ پڑی ہو محمد کے کھیلنے کے چیز پہ نگاہ پڑی ہو. زینب نے دیکھا پہلی مرتبہ زینب کا گریہ. عبداللہ ابن جعفر کو بٹھایا اور کہا اے ابن عم اون کا پرسہ قبول کیجئے. اے ابن عم محمد کا پرسہ قبول کیجئے. واہ نا واہ محمدا ماتم حسین یا حسین یا حسین.